I guess what I want to say is I feel like I'm kind of the accidental panelist. Andy, a while back, said, yeah, you know, this thing, the panel, you be on it. I said, yeah, sure, you know, blah, 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 I don't know. You know, got postponed, sort of forgot about it, and suddenly it's caught up with me. Like, you know, I'm this panelist, and so I got to do some kind of like panel-like thing here for my contribution to these things, taking these things seriously, by the way. So I made some notes. I asked myself, you know, well, what do I have to contribute or say here with regard to what's already been laid out in the preliminaries and in our title here? What can I mean, one thing occurred to me. I could speak to you qua victim of Hurricane Sandy. We could kind of do all of that sort of stuff, a report. And it's a very interesting question about narratives as we all reconstruct this event. But I see I'm billed as professor of history. So I thought I might like try to offer something about this that might derive from historical perspectives or historical understanding. So I thought about that. That might be something that I could do here. And I think the answer, when you think about that, is actually pretty easy and pretty interesting. And that is that Hurricane Sandy showed the fragility of the infrastructures that we have supporting industrial civilization, the set of technological systems that are linked together to give us industrial civilization like we live today and are represented actually in this moment. Right? You know, some infrastructures, again, you know, to sort of be thought about. The historical perspective is that this is quite new. It's you know, hasn't been around all that long. All of these technological systems and concatenated infrastructures of pretty much. It goes back to the Industrial Revolution, beginning in England. Industrial Revolution giving us industrial civilization that has kind of rolled on. Since then, which is plus or minus 200 years or 250 years, if you like. Right? We can debate a decade or two. It doesn't really matter. If you consider, on the other hand, that human civilization has been around for at least 5,500 years, not to mention further stretches of time, you get the idea that the circumstances that we face, and we faced in the fragility that was revealed there, is part of something that is not very long old in historical terms, and I dare say, although I don't want to use history to predict the future, you know, it needs to be thought about quite carefully in those regards. So that would be the first thing I would say as a panelist here, to sort of offer something to this conversation would be, keep in mind that industrial civilization started yesterday, and we're living it, and Hurricane Sandy showed how delicate it can be. Another thing I might offer here is something that Andy and Lee and others who've been in STS technology studies for years and years have known, and that is this concept of a technological system. That we don't think about technologies as little bits and pieces, but they're all linked together in a complex knitting of different sorts of features that can include all kinds of things. But the examples are really pretty easy, right? The electrical lighting system, the light bulb doesn't do it. You need power generators, you need wires, you need people to, you know, keep your accounts and, you know, all kinds of things in order to be able to flip the switch. Air transportation is another fantastic example. I mean, you know, to fly from one place to another, all that's involved in that. Not just the airplane, of course, but the ticketing system and our friends at Homeland Security and so on and so forth. So, you know, this notion of technological is nothing new, nothing I have to offer here. But over these years, my question about them have always been, where does one technological system end and another one begin? You know, it hasn't been a kind of focused question, but you know, when you present a technology, you say, well, you know, you need oil and gas to run your automobile system and your road system, but maybe not quite the same. So I never was quite clear. And here's where I think Hurricane Sandy helps us out. Because I think Hurricane Sandy offers us ways to explore these borders and boundaries between systems. It's the collective failure of all of these systems, and then the collective reconstitution of all of these systems can tell you about some things, I think, about how they're put together. We see hierarchies, of course, of technologies. I think clearly, right, the electricity was a big deal. And once the electricity came back on, then other things sort of came back on in turn. So you'd say, like, you know, refrigeration sort of follows from electricity. So that's the way you could see it. It's sort of building back up. But I also want to suggest the interrelationship and concatenation of technological systems today, giving us industrial civilization, as something almost of values as well. And that is, when the systems were failing, electricity goes out, how far down can you go? You know, for example, my wife and I felt really kind of lucky to have potable water and sewage. I mean, that was pretty good. I mean, consider life without potable water and without sewage, you know. We felt we were doing pretty well. So you'd say that that technological system somehow then is more valuable to us, or sort of hierarchically has to come first before, say, electric lights or whatnot. So, and again, conversely, coming back on, heat, refrigeration, as I mentioned, and so on and so forth. Neighbors debating whether hot water was more important than heat, and so on and so forth. Saying, well, you know, then it comes maybe a matter of personal taste. So that's basically all I have to say in terms of what history might shed on this, and some sort of reflections about the nature and interconnectedness of technological systems. I'll just say one more thing to sort of also make the point. If you think about this electricity thing, which proved obviously, right, really important in the whole trajectory of Hurricane Sandy, people with plugs in the streets and so on and so forth, and everybody congregated in the A building and so on. You know, plus or minus, you really can't speak about current electricity even as a phenomenon of nature before 1800, before you know, Volta invents the battery. So, and that's 212 years ago. And again, from that long perspective, I think not very long. Okay, thank you very much.